This is the review I did not want to have to do because I feel like reviewing Glock clones is a huge waste of everybody's GD time and a little bit of an annoyance for me. So I never wanted to do a review of the CZ P10C. I never wanted to review the CZ P10C because I saw it as kind of a lower quality Glock knockoff. And why would I want to do that? I'm perfectly happy with my Glock 19. This gun came out in 2017 and I've heard nothing but praise showered upon it, especially by people that I work with, people that I know, and people that I trust. So I figured I'll just give it a whip. I didn't call CZ and ask for this copy. I went ahead and purchased my own copy off the rack. Now, if you want a really good in-depth look at this gun to read, I say check out my good buddy Alex Costa's 3-part series on the development of the CZ P10 series. He wrote it for the Firearm Blog, our parent publication. So go to thefirearmblog.com and look for the development of the P10C series of articles. Very well done. And really, I don't want to give Alex credit because Alex is a dick, but I think he's what pushed me over the edge to make me purchase this gun and review it, and I'm glad that that happened. Now, before we talk about the pluses and minuses, the comparisons that I perceived between the Glock 19 and the CZ P10C, let's go ahead, have a listen to the specs and a comparison of the specs between these guns. The CZ P10C. Cold hammer forged barrel. It's got a 4-inch barrel length. It's just a tick taller than the Glock 19 at 5.2 inches. It is the exact width of the Glock 19, 1.26 inches. The Glock 19's got a little bit of an edge on the P10C because the P10C weighs 26 ounces versus the Glock's 23 ounces. But all things considered, if you like the P10C, I mean, 3 ounces isn't a reason to run over to the Glock 19. This one's got fantastic ergonomics. Brandon LaBeouf over at St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center and of tfbtv, he really liked the CZ P10C ergonomics. And I could see him kind of caving. He's a Glock 19 guy, but he really enjoyed the P10C as well.
This is my slow fire, 15 rounds. This was my rapid fire, 15 rounds. Here I was just trying to kind of get used to the feel of it. And then once I felt like I kind of had it, I kind of tried to turn it up because how much deeper this, like I felt it, like I subjectively noticed that this was deeper, and the best way I can explain it is as soon as I even picked the gun up out of the box, it felt like it just locked in, like I had a harder lock on it. So I wanted to get on it to see how much, you know, again, subjectively, how much less muzzle rise I had. And while I wasn't shooting crazy fast, I definitely noticed, rarely do I notice that in a gun, but I definitely noticed that this deepened beaver tail area locks that gun in, and with a proper grip, it's really not moving. I'm not sure if that'll show on video or not, but the gun seemed like it was barely moving at all.
Yeah, I mean, this thing shoots. I was indeed pleasantly surprised with the CZ P10C, and I do think that it compared favorably to the Glock 19. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about really what I liked and what I didn't like about the P10C, and what maybe it does better, if anything, than the Glock 19, and what the Glock 19 does better than the P10C. Let's start out with a point for the P10C, ergos. I'm sorry, I hate saying this, it makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit, but I think that the P10C nailed the ergos. Ergonomically, perhaps one of the most comfortable pistols that I've held and shot, right up there with the SIG P320 XC series. You have a great wide undercut right here, which makes shooting more comfortable on your support fingers here, like basically your middle finger. If you've shot a long pistol class with a standard Glock 19, you've gotten the blister. In fact, I think I probably have scarring here above my knuckle from shooting a bunch of Glock 19s at different pistol courses. Glock 17s, Glock 19s, they have a very narrow undercut, not as radiused as the CZ P10C, and you get some rubbing against the trigger guard. It can make it very uncomfortable. So you've got an excellent undercut here. You also have an excellent trigger guard. This trigger guard, if we want to compare it to the Glock 19, there is a lot more space with the P10 for gloved fingers or what have you in the P10C versus the Glock 19. I think my favorite aspect ergonomically is this beaver tail and the grip angle. Just something about getting a really deep grip on this gun makes you feel like you've got really excellent control over it. And while I think this is comparable to the Gen 5 Glock 19, I think that the CZ, this blocky checkering, I actually like it a lot, very aggressive. You have people who say they don't like this chunky, aggressive stippling, but I really like it. I like the checkering. I think it's well done. I also like that they've got it on the ledges here. My buddy Taryn Butler calls this, like if you have stippling right here along the left side of the frame, calls that an accelerator cut. So this is a nice touch. You can just kind of hang your thumb there while you're shooting for your support hand. While we're on the subject of grippiness, man, I gotta say, these are some of the best slide serrations, fore and aft slide serrations that I've seen on any gun. You have very deep slide serrations on the rear, make it very easy to get a hold of this gun and manipulate it as you need to. Now, I'm not a big forward slide serration guy. I really don't care. I'm not like a press check from the front kind of guy. But if you are that type of person, if that's important to you, forward slide serrations, the forward slide serrations are the same as the rear slide serrations. Again, very aggressive, very well cut. They look good too. I think a lot of the design cues for the P10C, they kind of remind me of like Vladislav's tractor. It's chunky, unapologetic, pragmatic, and it makes it just drip with cool, I think. You know, it looks like a practical gun. It's not fancy, it's not artsy. I mean, it just feels like a well-built gun, like something that you could abuse the shit out of and you'd pick it up and it would ask for more. Vladislav's tractor. You got triple serial numbers on the barrel, the slide, and the frame, which is really cool. Unlike the Glock, it also has a steel guide rod. That's important to some people. Obviously, if your guide rod breaks, then your gun stops working. But I haven't heard too many complaints about decades of Glock plastic guide rods. But again, some people consider a steel guide rod to be a plus. And you should just know that Vladislav's tractor comes with a steel guide rod. And even though we're talking something of like a com block throwback vibe for this gun, it's fully ambi, which is very progressive. It took Glock until the Gen 5 to do an ambi slide release, and they still have not a truly ambi mag release. With the P10C, you have fully ambi magazine release. So you got a button on both sides that works, and you've got fully ambi slide lock, slide release, however you like to call it. Hard to get it with that index finger on an empty mag, I'll say that. Full ambi, a little bit of a leg up on most Glock 19s out there. Of course, it also has a cold hammer forged barrel made by CZ. You know this thing is going to be robust, last tens, hundreds of thousands of rounds probably. Trigger, 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 trigger. What can I say about the trigger? It reminds me of the VP9. Before I reviewed the VP9, everybody would talk to, all my buddies that are really into the VP9, John over at Active Self-Protection, everybody always raves about the trigger and the VP9 and how much better it is than the Glock 19. It's hardly different. It is hardly different. And you know, you've got it's a great trigger, I'll say that. And you have a very short, you guys hear that? Audible and tactile reset, so you hear it and you feel it. If you talk to your buddy, your CZ buddy, and he puts down his soy latte, maybe twirls his mustache a little, and then he'll snap his suspenders and be like, buddy, the CZ P10C is way better trigger-wise than the Glock 19. That's what they'll all say. All those CZ hipsters, they love the trigger in these guns. It's excellent. It's excellent. Is it better than the Glock 19? It's marginally different than the Glock 19. They're not tournament guns, but they're not meant to be tournament guns. These are duty pistols or concealed carry pistols. The last positive thing I have to say about the CZ P10C before I poop all over it is that you can use most Glock 19 holsters with it. That's actually a pretty cool thing that most people didn't know. I'll show you. Kydex Glock 19 holster, obviously works with the Glock 19. CZ P10C works, but it doesn't work all the time. Bravo concealment holster, Glock 19. Perfect. But P10C with this holster, if you wanted to go in there, you're gonna have to force it and there's gonna be damage. I'm going to leave that obvious joke to you guys. Now let's talk about why I like the Glock 19 better, and I emphasize I. Because going into this, I don't want people to all of a sudden shut me off and say, oh, here you go, Glock fanboy James Reeves. He's gonna talk about why his Glock 19 is so much better than the CZ P10C, and it really isn't like that. I'm emphasizing why I like the Glock 19 better, and reasons that I believe the Glock 19 is a better choice than the P10C. If you buy a P10C, good for you. I would be perfectly comfortable with this gun. If for whatever reason I didn't want a Glock 19, I am more than glad to carry this gun if I didn't already marry my Glock 19, I guess for lack of a better term. But I'm gonna tell you why I like the 19 better. We're gonna start with an easy one. The Glock 19, 3 ounces lighter. Almost a quarter pound, not quite. And 3 ounces, it isn't a whole ton of weight, but you're talking about a 26 ounce gun versus a 23 ounce gun. So it's about 10% lighter. The Glock 19 is also slightly smaller than the P10C. Look at this graphic right here. You can see that the Glock 19 is dimensionally smaller. It's shorter both the slide and the frame. I got out my caliper, and functionally these guns, if you measure them at their thickest point, are about the same. The Gen 5 Glock 19, the RTF or the RTF2 texture on here, it's chunky, blocky. I think it's great. CZ was a little bit more liberal in that they made it a little bit more aggressive, and you also have it up there in that speed ledge that I was talking about, or that accelerator cut. But that one's gonna be pretty subjective, and I would just say that these are equal. They both have good stippling. I like the thumb shelf that's on both sides of the Glock 19 as usual. The Gen 5 guns also have a beveled and flared magazine well. A lot of people don't know that, but that's gonna make your mag changes a lot easier. Compare that to the P10C, which does not have beveling or flaring, and you're going to be enjoying much easier mag changes with the Glock 19 versus the P10C. Here's a big one that you guys have been waiting for me to say. Third-party support, unparalleled with the Glock 19. Tell me what you want. You want sights? Do you want a trigger? Do you want the cotton candy maker attachment for the Glock 19? You got it. Whatever you want for the Glock 19, this is clearly the most optionable, that's a word, this is clearly the most optionable handgun ever made. You can get just about any accessory. If they make an accessory, they make it for the Glock 19, period. That's it. And the P10C or anything else for that matter doesn't even come close. That also means you have better choice for magazines. You've got all kinds of capacities from 15 all the way to 33, even drums, even drum magazines, and you don't have that same option with the P10C. Magpul, of course, makes Glock magazines. ETS, I don't know who is not making Glock 19 magazines now if they make pistol magazines. You're going to have more parts availability for replacement parts are going to be easier to find. You've got the Glock Armorer course. You've got all that support. So you as a civilian, you could go take a Glock Armorer course or the Glock Operator course, which is excellent. Love the Glock Operator course. I've taken it twice. You can take that and they'll teach you how to use specifically how to use this gun, how to maintain this gun, and there's nothing else like it anywhere else in the market. The most important thing to me, this gun, development began in 2014. It was manufactured in 2017. The Glock 19, 3 decades of service. It's in its 5th generation, so it's constantly being improved upon, even though I think it was pretty much perfect whenever it first came out. But Glock listens to the consumer, they modify it. You can take a Gen 3 gun, which I believe debuted in 1999, and it's just as good as anything else that's out on the market, but you also know that it's been adopted by like every law enforcement agency on the face of the earth. The point is track record for reliability. That's the most important factor for me, period. That's why I choose the Glock 19 over everything else, is the track record for reliability. Now, I've mentioned that the Smith & Wesson M&P series is kind of emerging as a challenger because I believe it came out in 2005, so it's been out for about 15 years now and has been doing quite well itself, and they're already in their 2nd generation. They made some improvements upon the 1.0. Very impressed with the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 series, but the CZ P10C has only been out for 2 years. Notwithstanding all the shine I just put on the Glock 17, I almost feel like I owe TFBTV viewers and CZ an apology. Almost. an apology. They want to apologize for still making the CZ75. I'll apologize to them for not reviewing the CZ P10C for the past 2 years, for discarding it, for thinking it's a clone and pointless. This is an excellent gun. I'm not going to put up my Glock 19 as I just mentioned, but I really wouldn't blame anybody else if you did. If you pick this gun up and you say, hey, this is for me, this works for me, and I like it better than the Glock 19, more power to you. Anyways, guys, thanks a ton for watching. I've mentioned this a lot in our videos recently. We're getting the absolute shit demonetized out of us by YouTube. Please, please consider supporting us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/tfbtv. We give away 2 guns a month at tfbtv.gun.team. All Patreon members at the $5 level and higher are automatically entered. This drawing has nothing to do with YouTube. We assume all liability. Nothing to do with Patreon. This is a TFBTV joint only. So help us out by subscribing or supporting us on Patreon. If you're a subscriber, make sure you have that notification bell clicked. Otherwise, gun videos, you're just not going to get a notification whenever gun videos come out. Thanks a ton. We couldn't do it without our sponsors, Ventura Munitions and Blue Alpha Gear. They are the absolute best. And you guys are the best for watching. See you next week.